Okay, so I just went to review our little last tape here, and at least on screen I kind of appeared upside down or to the side or who knows what else, so I hope I can, figure out some way to modify that so the video comes out okay. Anyways, on that positive note, so we left off talking about length, width, and depth, right? And how that works in the river. So again, we left off saying that proportionate to the depth is the length and the width. That was the relationship between them. And of course, conversely, in order to get to the depth, you have to go through the length and the width. Now let's talk about what the point is. And the point is about the idea, right? So let's tie it back here. The same thing that we talked about in relation to a river applies to a concept. So to the depth of the concept. Hu bechinan atzem nekudaso, that's the essential point of the idea. Kamo shehu, as is. V'nikra omek hamusag, and it's called the depth of that which is understood. Shekol ma shenispashet behezber hahasaga lakol tzad barochav gadol b'kama pratim, that everything that spreads forth in the explanation of that understanding to every angle with great width and many details, okay, so that's the width, v'kein la'orech, and so too with regard to the length, ba'otzem ha'yerida, with the profound descent, meaning the profound conceptual descent the concept undergoes as you explain it in more concrete terms. And so too with regard to the height above, to conceptualize from it something that's higher than it. So like, for example, if you have a subject like mathematics, once you grasp the concept of addition of whole numbers, you could think of a little bit more abstractly and maybe do addition of fractions and all that, addition of decimals. And once you do addition and subtraction, you can get to multiplication and then division and geometry, algebra, So once you grasp the essence of mathematics in a more concrete way, like addition, so then you can you can move up to conceptualizing the subject of mathematics in a more abstract way, let's say in terms of how the essence of mathematics is expressed in the form of algebra. So I wonder if when I'm tired and I look that serious while we're having these classes, if I seem scary. But anyways. Maybe I'll watch myself on video with some popcorn sometime. Or not. Let's see. Okay, we'll skip the parentheses for now. Hakol, everything, like all the dimensions of the idea, nimshach me'atzem omek nekudaso, are drawn out from the depth of the point, right, of the idea. Right, the width and length come from the depth. That's what we just said. Kamo shehu novea min hachachma hanikra ayin. Okay, as it, meaning the depth of the concept, the point of the concept, and understanding flows forth from insight, which is called nothing. Now, in a lot of texts out there, which in terms of their intellectual content are a good match for Spider-Man comic books, they make out this whole mysterious discussion of, insight is referred to as the nothing or, whatever. But here, nothing is an analogy. And it refers to the fact that we're looking at the intangible or the abstract. That's more simpler English, as they say, if simpler is a word, in the English language altogether. You have the tangible expression of the concept, and you have the intangible or the abstract, right? Or the concrete and the abstract, or the particular and the general. Same concept, right? So Chachma is the abstract, and Bina is the concrete expression of the essence of the concept. right? The essence of the concept transcends expression altogether. Not just not in the concrete, but not even in the abstract. It's just that to get to the essence of the concept requires first understanding the concept simply and even superficially at first, and then generally, then to understand the concept more particularly and more deeply. And then when you get the point of the concept, tangibly, and the mind of understanding, then you can look at the idea more abstractly, and then we can talk about ultimately getting to the essence of the idea. So that's that, right? Just like you have to go through the length and the width of a river to get to the depth, so too we have to go through the many details that define this concept, and really dig into those details and understand it concretely, and then think about it more abstractly, and then we could talk about getting to the essence. So for example, if you want to become a doctor, so that's going to take, well, basically, several years, actually many years, of studying the details of medicine. Or like, if you want to be a network engineer, so that's going to take a lot of studying the details of how networking works. Or if you want to, be a good basketball player, so you have to study basketball, and of course, besides the study, there's the experience, playing the game a lot, practicing a lot. So to become expert in anything in the entire world, like baking a cake, if you want to be an expert baker, pretty much, you got to study the details, formally in a baking school or informally, kind of, I don't know, on YouTube or through experimentation or what have you. But it's always a learning process. There's nothing mystical about it. And that's the funny thing, that a lot of people, unfortunately, for us, really, unfortunately for the entire humanity, there's a lot of misinformation about mysticism and about Kabbalah, and people trying to make it into some whole hocus-pocus kind of philosophy, but it's more like a science. If you think about what we're saying here, in other words, there's an actual received tradition from God Himself to Moses on Sinai, passed down through the Torah leaders, in other words, the experts in this knowledge throughout the generations, down to and including us. We have the knowledge. It is here to study, but the way to increase our own awareness of God's essence is not by, concentrating on the color black or something like that in our own mind. There's, repeating some phrase, like a mental case. Sorry, but that's that's definitely how it will look to someone on the outside. And it's not because they're wrong and they don't understand the process, just because it's really crazy. But really actually studying it, just like we study something in school, to seriously understand what's going on. Just to study the explanation. So we'll talk more about that in our next tape. But, I guess if I talked in my last tape about what was the pet peeve there, people just kind of wholesale accepting everything without critical thinking. I guess pet peeve too would be taking things that could be understood to whatever extent and claiming that they cannot be understood, and actually inventing a whole system of trying to approach it in exactly the wrong way. But, okay, yay, happy, positive, positive thinking. See you in the next tape.